with themselves. Okay. It is 10:05 on November 20th, 2020. How is this for a great date? 11/20/2020. Love that. I'm Deborah Allen, Chairman of the Administration Committee. This is our last meeting of this term. I'll call it to order, and I think it's fair to say that if we have a quorum, it's because people are out there on the telephones. So why don't we do a roll call to start so we know who's here?
Okay. Copey? Davist? Fraz? Caius?
Caius present.
Leonard?
Leonard present.
Martin?
Oh, John will not be here today. He's having a medical procedure. But Drew should be here on Zoom. I talked with him from the parking lot, and so he will show up, I'm going to say.
My unidentified iPad.
Okay.
Mr. Fraz?
So we don't have quorum, right? Okay.
Not yet.
How about if
Drew Fraz, are you online? I have an unidentified iPad that may be you. Please see if you can unmute yourself if you're there.
I'm just, if Mr. Caius and Mr. Leonard don't mind waiting, I'm just going to shoot a text over to Drew.
Somebody joined.
Hey, I just joined by phone.
He needs to shut off the iPad or turn
Mute the iPad or shut it off.
You can mute the iPad too, Blair. Just mute it so it won't feedback.
Oh.
Or you can have it.
His
You can,
iPad is shown as muted.
or you can remove it even if it doesn't.
Well, but he's probably viewing everything
That's fine.
from that.
Do you feel like you have him?
Yeah, he's on the phone.
Okay, good. All right. Then with quorum in place, we'll move forward. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 14th, last month's meeting?
Leonard moves.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Do I have a second?
Caius second.
Mr. Caius, thank you. Did anyone want to make any changes to the minutes? I thought I was a little over-enthusiastic about Cordick and Clark, but I trust our recording secretary to listen to the tape, and maybe I said all those nice things. If there aren't any other comments, then why don't we take a roll call on that?
Fraz?
Drew on approving the minutes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Alan?
Alan, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Passes.
Do we need, in order to,
Probably should, because there'll be 4.
Before.
so we need Drew to come on and approve?
Yes.
the minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Drew, if you can hear us, when you're able to join us, I'll need a vote on the minutes.
The noise is coming from him.
Okay, we'll work it out. Okay, finance material is all in the file. There is literally no one to make public comment in the room. Is there anyone online who wants to make a public comment? Otherwise, we're going to move on to facilities management. I am lucky enough to have in the room Mr. Chris Allen to talk to us about what's going on in the county building management. Do you want to say something about capital projects at this stage of the game?
I am prepared.
Good. Thank you for leading us through.
Yes, no problem. Unfortunately, I was unable to get out to the multi-use facility last week and get some fresh pictures to put together a presentation, so I'll just speak to the progress. Excuse me. So I've asked the sheriff's liaison for an updated drone footage of the multi-use facility, so we'll hopefully have that for the next admin committee. As of yesterday, the CARES Act committee approved the inclusion of 10 more Kane County sites for the UV angels and bioclimatic air filters, and also to include the multi-use facility. Therefore, all 26 locations will receive advanced air quality for its constituents and staff, which is wonderful.
Great.
The CARES Act Committee also approved the installation of a new backup generator for the Health Department for incoming COVID vaccines. So that way the Health Department won't have any risk of losing vaccines due to a temperature drop without electricity. At the multi-use facility, this coroner, sheriffs, and building management departments have met with CCA's interior teams to pick furniture. We've all decided to all pick the same thing for continuity, so we're exactly the same across the board in unison. Our next meeting for furniture choice finalization is December 3rd, and I foresee no issues with that. Building C's CARE Act projects continue as scheduled and on time, so that's good news there. Building a backup generator is in progress still. The excavation for the pad starts on the 30th, so we're moving that right along. I've been approached by a senior member of the elections group for enhancements to the Building B as reference to exits and entrances and as well as tents for the upcoming election. And where I'm supporting in any way we can with that. And I have time scheduled with the chairman next Monday to go over invoices and change orders and things of that nature for review and signature, so we keep all these projects moving along as smoothly as possible.
Chris, just a question. Did the health department not have a generator before?
Good question, Ms. Allen. They did, but it was substandard and not installed properly and safely, and it would not have been able to carry the load for the freezers and refrigerators and of that nature. So an upgrade was determined to be suitable.
I know that building has many peculiarities because it was designed, the second floor, I believe, was all supposed to be in individual offices for physicians and so on. And
Correct.
so they've made that work. And as I understand it, the lowest level of the building is a negative pressure. Is that what it's called?
For the
Because of
TB clinic, yes.
Because of the TB clinic? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Well, a generator can only be a good thing there.
absolutely, especially with the vaccines coming in. They need to be maintained at a proper temperature, otherwise they go bad. So we wouldn't be able to serve the citizens of the county with
Well,
proper
thank you for
vaccines.
steering that through.
No problem.
Okay. Is it okay to move on?
If you're ready, ma'am.
Okay, the next thing
Ms.
up,
Allen? Ms. Allen?
yes, Mr. Pius.
Hey, yes. Say if we're going to be discussing in length the items B, C, and D in this facilities management, I was wondering, could we postpone that, or not postpone it, but move it later in the agenda, say between construction and discussion or something, so that we have adequate time, and also we could take care of the book work that's with the other, just the normal things like the resolution for renewing licenses and vehicles and things.
Okay.
Is
so
that
you're just-
possible? Would that serve better to have that a little later?
So you're just suggesting that we do the discussion stuff at the end and get the resolutions done quicker?
Right.
Okay.
Well, B, C, and D, get the items 6 and 8 especially, since they should be relatively quickly out of the way, and then we'll have. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry,
Go
I'm
to the
just,
committee.
I'm just having a little trouble understanding you over the phone. It's probably just me.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think he's suggesting we start with item 6, which is IT, and then
Sure.
come back to item
Okay.
5.
And that's what I understood. That's fine. Okay, yeah, Chris, let's do that. All right, under item 6, Mr. Fonstock is in the room.
Yep.
Do you want to lead us through
Sure.
these resolutions?
Sure. The first resolution is authorizing an annual renewal of the City View license and maintenance with Harris Corporation. You should have a copy of that agreement in the packet that you received. And I'll just pull this up real quick. The amount is $181,290. This is a shared expense for the permitting software. It is used in the health department. It is used in development, transportation, and liquor commission. They split the costs of this and reimburse the county for the special revenue. It's a budgeted expense for the county. And real quickly, the term is yearly and it renews every year, basically. So in the amount in there for the annual maintenance is $112,000, and then there's some other one-time licensing and implementation costs for some of the features that we're working on with the portal. But the base maintenance is $112,000. And again, the total amount of the expense for the year is $181,290. And it's a budgeted expense, and we're recommending approval. So we just need the motion second and the vote of the committee.
Good. May I have a motion on this resolution?
Leonard moves.
Caius second.
Mr. Leonard moves, Mr. Caius seconds. Is there discussion? Roger, I think this is a slam dunk then.
Okay.
If there's no discussion, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Fraz,
Yes. Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Allen.
Alan, yes. Good. This next one is a real pleasure. May I have a motion to ratify the authorization of wage increase for fiscal year 2021 for the department head under our influence, which would be Mr. Fonstock? May I have a motion?
Leonard moves.
And Leonard moves, and Mr. Caius seconds, and Mr. Frost thirds, and I fourth.
Thank you.
And I don't think we could be any more pleased than to approve this one.
Davis, gotcha. Thank you. Ready?
Are you
Okay.
ready to do
Yep,
the roll?
Fraz,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Mr. Davis,
Is this the wage increase resolution?
yes.
Davis, yes.
Thank you,
Leonard?
Mr. Davis. Welcome.
Leonard, yes.
Allen,
Alan, yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, is there anything having to do with Mill Creek this time?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I can provide a update. We have started the process for the Dobson Lane project to start in spring. The brush pickup has been completed. The holiday lights and wreaths and garland have gone up. We're in the process of vetting the new landscaping contract, and tree removal has been completed for this season.
Okay, thank you. Those holiday lights are pretty nifty.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next item is vehicles, a resolution approving purchase of 2 single-axle truck cab and chassis. KDOT, I think it has to do with plowing and stuff. May I have a motion?
Fraz moves.
Mr. Frost moves. Is there a second?
Leonard seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. There doesn't seem to be anyone in the room to address this.
I can
Drew,
handle that, Madam Chairman.
That would be great, Drew. Go right ahead.
Yeah, this is just our routine replacement cycle of vehicles. There's 2 trucks, single axle, that we're replacing. As you know, we have, close to 30 trucks, and they replace a couple a year, average 20-year life. So, we have to do a couple a year to keep ahead of things so that we don't have a big flood of them at any given year. So routine replacement, we got very good trade-in value for the old ones, and ready to move forward.
That's great. The trade-ins looked very good. Good for you. Is there any other discussion on this? We have a motion and a second. Karen, do you want to call the roll? Sorry, didn't mean to surprise you.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Fraz,
Fraz, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
passes.
Alan, yes.
Oh, thank you.
For sure. Okay, I think now is, there are a couple of items under new business that I think are relatively straightforward. Mr. Fonstock, I was, it's been in the ether that the new chairman will, and the new board will make a decision about how to go forward with Kane Connects. But I understand that you have an alternative proposal that could be managed. It's one of the things that we should consider. Do you care to talk about that at this time, or?
Oh, we can. It was proposed or discussed maybe 2 or 3 months ago during the Riverboat funding request. And in that process, as the board were making their decisions about the proposed expenses, they eliminated the source of funding that funded the Kane County Connects staff. So in the process, we were asked, how would that move forward? The maintenance of the website, the newsletter, the email system, the pieces or the kind of the operational part of that are maintained by the IT department. What we do not provide and what Kane County Connects provide is the content, the editorial part of it, the writing. So we're very comfortable with continuing the operational part of it, and the way we were approaching it was that if the offices, departments, and staff continue to contribute stories, information, newsletters, maybe press releases, we would be able to continue to post those to the newsletter, post them to the website, and get those out. I think the creative part of it, or writing articles, is the part where we feel, the offices and departments would have to step up to give us that content. I don't know that the IT department's in a position to write news articles or articles about other offices and departments. We're just not really set up that way. So it wasn't a kind of a cure for the writing part of it. It was operationally, we can keep Connects going. We own all of it. So I think the organization of people to provide content in the offices and departments is something we could help coordinate with the board office, with the offices and departments. But again, how getting a consistent presence, a consistent, storyline out to the public and to our, I think we have thousands of people that are subscribed now, maybe close to 10,000. That's always going to be a challenge. We had done the newsletter and online Connects before we had a full-time communications person, and it was managed with officials and departments submitting articles. So prior to Mr. Nagel and the Connects, there was Kane County Connects, and it was a matter of articles being submitted by offices and departments that we posted on their behalf to a newsletter and then subsequently to a web page. So we've been down this road before. It's not like it's uncharted territory, but that writing and creating content is the part that we think will be the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And that really depends on how forthcoming the offices and departments are with providing content. At one time, I believe they still have like a public information officer in some of the offices that write newsletters for their office, write press releases. We could work with them to get those pieces of information inserted back into a newsletter and page. But again, we're not driving the content, they are. So you might have episodes where nobody's providing content to us. Do we go out and purposefully generate content or work to get stories about current activities, of the offices, departments, and boards? So instead of receiving the stuff, we're going out and getting it, so that's the only other question we would have is, how proactive is IT, in terms of getting new content? That's really where the strength of having a communications person dedicated to that comes into play. So,
Roger, can I ask, do you, if IT took this over, would it still be a daily functioning newsletter? Because your point person on that if there's a daily responsibility, that looks like a pretty
well,
loaded part-time job.
if you're expecting that person to generate the content and put new content out daily, it is, more of a part to full-time position. If they're aggregating content from everybody and just posting it, we can build the tools to automate that so that we get the article, we put it out there. We get the article, we put it out there. If we have to have someone writing,
Okay.
2 to 4 articles a day, we can consider how that might work. But I think the biggest gap will be if the offices and departments are not generating content and you don't have anything to send out, do you create something to send out? I know that the current, articles for the Connects, they come from maybe other municipal governments that are posting, news. They have some things that come from park districts or forest preserves or, so they grab that information from maybe the original source and they almost, replay it so that it goes out to our audience as well. And I believe that they have some arrangements to do that where they get the newsletter and then they repost it and it goes out through Connects just to make sure we reach everyone.
So editing is something that would fall in your purview comfortably. Writing is outside of that purview.
I would say that they would be editing, within their office or
compiling?
department. Yeah, we would be the aggregator. We would just be,
Aggregating, okay, all right.
yeah, we would be posting the aggregate of what we receive, and we could organize the point of contact with each office and department and tell them, hey, if you have news, press releases, things you want, we can put it in there. Now the question is if we get something that is, 3 mangled sentences and a bad photo, I think we would want the editorial discretion to say, no, we're not sending that out. Whether, whoever that is, if it's, just judged not to be, content of value or quality. And we would obviously work with them to try and make it better. But I can tell you from personal experience, when we had people trying to do their own content and provide it to us, it at times was difficult to get good content. So,
Madam Chairman, it's Drew Frost.
Mr. Frost, go right ahead.
Yeah, I guess listening here, the very hole in the whole system that Roger's describing is the hole that has been filled by Mr. Nagel for all these years very competently. So, I think we created a dilemma that really didn't need creating. And, I've watched Kane County Connects go from 0 to 10,000 users, and we were all very proud of it. And some of us weren't even that supportive of it originally, but have grown to see its value. I know I get feedback especially from other municipal leaders in my district that say I read it every morning. So, I don't think that this really came from the board, the changes to Kane County Connects. And I suspect that the new chairman and the new board may very well want to just continue things the way they were. So I suggest we get through December and reconvene and see what the new board wants to do. But, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And that's the situation we find ourselves in.
Madam Chairman?
And that's the discussion worth having. Mr. Caius?
Yes, thank you. Now, I'd like to just echo Mr. Froz's comments and point out an interesting thing that actually came up in the CAT committee. It was interesting that just to verify how valuable the service has been, I think the that when anybody mentioned getting the business grants out to the public and to businesses, I think the first thing that they mentioned then was 2 or 3 times to get it out to the press, and then secondly to put it on Kane County Connects, which is our mouthpiece and consistent reporter for what's going on in the county, especially in this time of COVID. So it's I think it's a valuable tool, and a lot's been invested, and I think we lose a lot if we don't have some continuity that carries us on, and that may well include Mr. Nagel, but I see it as an important cog in making sure that the information gets from departments and in a proper form, like Roger says, so that we're dropping the ball in between that. My question is, how does the admin committee play into bringing this? Are we just discussing this, or do we as a committee, are we the authority or the arbiter of how funding could be extended, or the form this would take, or is it fall under some other?
I think I can address that, Mr. Kais. If there are other choices that come out of IT, and IT reports to this committee, so this is just a way to say, here's something else that's in the ether, and we can consider it. If the new chairman and the new board wish to continue Kane County Connects, it has certainly been the outreach tool that we looked for a long time. There were several stabs at it that did not work particularly well. And I think that's because Mr. Nagel came from the newspaper industry, so he knew what that looked like and delivered that for us. So I agree with Mr. Frost that this will be a continuing conversation. And Mr. Kais sits here because if there isn't money or will to continue with Mr. Nagel, then we have other alternatives that we can investigate.
Sure. Who do we toss the ball to continue it the way it is?
I'm sorry?
I say, well, if we have the alternative, if we see alternatives, and we certainly should be investigating all alternatives, if we wanted to continue the way it is with a full-time person, is that taken up through the chairman of the board, or is that a specific committee that initiates that?
Mr. Fonseca?
It was already in place when I was here, so.
So the funding for the position was handled through Riverboat. So that was the source of revenue for paying, and it was under the county board office. So you would basically be addressing finance to budget or make a budget adjustment to create either a contractual or a full-time wage and compensation adjustment to a budget where this service would reside. So that would be the change necessary to put a position back.
And you're saying it comes through the chairman of the board's office?
Well, it would come through finance for a budget adjustment. Somebody would have to make that request to make a budget adjustment to their, yeah, through finance to create whatever financial need you have for the position.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion on that subject? Drew, you wanted to mention moving some money around?
Yeah, if the board will indulge me, I'm asking for a consensus on a funding situation. The reason I'm doing it this way is it just came up recently, and we want to get it to finance next week. So I'm bringing it to the board or the committee today as a consensus item. But if you recall, when we were doing the budget for the new building, we were on a very tight schedule and challenged to bring it in as low as possible. And we put a lower contingency. If you recall, every major building project or road project, bridge project, we have a certain percentage of contingency for things that come up that were unexpected. So we put it kind of at the low end of normal, but again, at the low end. And also, if you recall, right out of the gate, when we started the project on this new site, we had a substantial soil condition situation that ate up about half of our contingency. So about 200,000 of roughly 400,000 in contingency. So we've been working on about half of what we expected most of the time. So things come up. We're down to about 20,000 of that right now, and the construction team is asking if we could bolster that to get through the next 4 months or so as we complete the building. So talking to Joe Onzik and others, and I kept Mr. Hoscheit in the loop. I'm proposing that we move $75,000 from the public building fund and move that over to our contingency fund. And I doubt that we'll use that much, but we want to have it there just in case. And then we have a grant that has been approved by the state, so we're just waiting to receive it. And once we receive that grant, the grant was specific to the new building, we'll then replenish the money that we're borrowing from the public building fund. So just asking for consensus on that, and it will be at finance next week.
Any additional discussion? I want to remind everybody that at one time we were going to empty the Public Building Commission, almost empty it in order to do this building. And by virtue of the way the bond worked out, we didn't have to do that. So there's quite a bit more money in the PBC than we thought there would be. So at least there's a fund there that we can visit for this purpose. And then everybody knock wood, okay, we're knocking wood, that the grant comes in as we are hoping it will. And actually, I'm guessing any extra money, if we escape this project and have money left over because of the grant, that would just go back into the Public Building Commission also, unless, somebody wants to build a statue of Drew Frost that we would put out in front of the building welcoming everyone.
Well, I'll make a motion to that effect. No, I'm just kidding.
I got a second.
Yeah, just to be clear, the grant is coming from the capital bill that was through Senator Oberweis, and it's $600,000, and it does go to the new building specifically. So whatever funds we use to replenish the public building fund, the balance, which will be the vast majority of it, will go towards funding of the building, so we can apply that to anything related to the building, or likely just reducing our bond.
That's good too.
And the grant, we have gotten notification. It's not like we applied and are crossing our fingers. We got notification that we are receiving it, and it is imminent, and we just have to go through the paperwork and wait for the state to clear everything, but we are going to receive it.
Okay. Is there further discussion? Otherwise, I saw this done at a meeting maybe yesterday, where what we did was we just did a roll call and people said they agreed, that they concurred with this proposal. Is there other discussion?
Davist here, just that I concur with Drew. This project has gone, beautifully so far, and to risk having any delay over, a $75,000, advance, so to speak, to contingency seems, doesn't seem prudent. So I would offer my voice in consensus with, taking this to finance with our approval.
That's a good way to put it, Mark. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Davist concurs?
Davist?
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, this is Bill Leonard. I concur also. I think it's a wise move to make, and actually what it really comes down to, it's strictly a cash flow move, and that's it. So I definitely concur.
Good, thank you.
Fraz?
Yes.
Caius?
Caius concurs.
Alan?
And I concur also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen. Thank you, Mr. Frost, for keeping an eye on this for us.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can Is there other, are there other items that people wanted to bring up before we go to these other discussions? Otherwise, we'll do that next. And then we'll end with reports on file, and then we'll adjourn. Okay, the first resolution is a kind of a convoluted title, but here's my understanding. There are always going to be offices and departments that want to bring improvements to their offices or their departments. And when those improvements are infrastructure improvements, if they touch the buildings, the parking lots, the fiber, the telecommunications, any of those things that building management is responsible for, then building management should come into the discussion, because in the end, they will be the ones responsible for maintaining or repairing those infrastructure items. So our goal here was to come up with a policy that would blend the creation of new projects, infrastructure projects, with a plan that would go through past their being built or being added, so that building management would have that under their umbrella in an orderly way. And in a way, it's kind of like what we did with the MUFCO. We had the stakeholders and the architect, we had building management, we had finance, we had some of us in the mix, so that the project was being watched over from all those angles. And again, knocking wood, so far so good, our project is working out well. I think that the resolution needs to be drafted a little more clearly, and that we would be well advised. There are 3 projects that I'm aware of on the horizon. One is the energy efficiency project that Sheriff Hayne wanted to work on. And that went not just with the building, but also to the fleet, and of course to energy. So that's a project that's out there hanging around. And then there's also a project where I believe the sheriff wants to create a welding school to help train people, so that when they leave the jail, they will have a skill that they can offer. I believe he's already done that with forklift training. And the third project that I'm aware of is that the chief judge wants to do a build out on the second floor of the JJC, having to do with a new courtroom. As I understand it, there already is a courtroom in that building, but it's been used for storage. So it would be helpful, I would think, for a team of people to say, what is the most efficient way to accomplish what the chief judge wants to accomplish, and try and do it as efficiently and cost effectively as possible. So if we would need to talk with those stakeholders to see if we can come up with a plan that is reasonable and workable. And if we soften the soil by talking to people about those projects, then we could probably put together a pretty good policy for the future forever after. Mr. Allen, do you want to weigh in on what you know about this?
Yes, ma'am. What is being sought is, like you mentioned, is a clearer path of directions, so that way people know where they need to tie into and work to accomplish these tasks or these projects together as a team, not as individuals going alone. And then all of a sudden we inherit, the building management, the admin committee inherits something at the last minute or the 11th hour as an afterthought. And it's about collaboration and seeking those accomplished goals in an orderly fashion and a process.
Forewarned is forearmed. And I think Mr. Fonsock on many occasions has said to me, you realize if you do that, you're going to have somebody to manage that inventory, or you're going to have someone to manage that infrastructure, someone to manage those telephones. We have to bring 6 more computers and desks over to take care of that free intern that you're getting and so on. So this is a way to put that policy together. And I know this is tricky because we don't know who of us is going to still be here working on this. I promised Ricky Sparks when he left that wherever I am, I will keep working at this until we get something accomplished so that there is protection for building management in the future on these kinds of projects. Other discussion?
Madam Chairman?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is Bill Leonard. In
Yes, Mr.
principle, I
Leonard.
agree with Resolution B about the memorandum of understanding. And also, I understand we have another resolution approving the Kane County Green Building Policy. I think it would be prudent on our part to table both of these resolutions right now until the new board is established, new committee assignments are appointed, and then we can move forward on both of those. As I said before, I agree in principle with both. However, I think we need to take into consideration the change in the board and committee assignments. And so I would like to table Resolution B and D.
And
Second by Cross.
And that's a second. Okay. I'd say my only concern is that this committee, I was valuing the possibility of discussion from this committee because we have all been invested in this huge building project for so many years now. But I'm just hoping that everyone will pay attention to this coming through the pipeline and bring what you know and the improvements that you could see, drafting changes and so on, as it, whether you're on the committee or not, keep an eye out for this one, okay? All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Raz,
Raz, yes.
Caius,
Caius, no.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Allen.
Alan, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's tabled and we will go on to bigger and better projects. Next up is, could I have a motion to put the reports on file?
Raz moves.
Mr. Frost moves.
Davis,
Caius,
second.
second.
Mr. Davis seconds. Any discussion on the reports? Karen, would you call the roll, please?
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Raz,
Raz, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Allen.
Alan, aye. A move to adjourn?
Davis
Raz
moves.
moves.
Davis moves. I'm sorry, who seconded?
Raz, I think.
Raz.
Okay, Mr. Frost seconds. And that's just a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We can stay on the line and talk some more.
No,
All right,
I vote no. I think we should talk. I hate to give up this great fun we're having.
Folks, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and we have a great project well underway, and it's all good going out. So thank you, guys.